Okay. Hope now it's back to the microphone. Good morning, devotees. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. We just quickly readjust. Hey, Hare Krishna. So we are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15, the descendants of King Virata. The verses are, I think you said to read two verses, right? 11 and 12? Yeah, I should have thought.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chandamsi akamasya yasa kamandudu. Chandamsi akamas. Chandamsi asya yasya kaman. Duduhur ajarur arto balin ripaham. Pratyanchita yudhi dharmina vipram. Yadashisham sastham amsham paretyam. Word to word, Chandamshi, all the different parts of the Vedas, Akamasya, of one who has no desire for personal sense gratification. Cha, also, Yasya, whose Kaman, all desirables, Guduhu, yielded, Ajahuru, offered, Arto, thus, Balin, presentation, Ripaha, Prachanchitaha, being satisfied by his fighting in opposition. Yudhi, in the war, Dharmena, by religious principles, Vipraha, all the Brahmanas, Yada, when, Ashisham, of blessings, Shashtam, Shashtam Amsham, 1/6, Paretya, in the next life. Translation. Although King Gaya had no personal desire for sense gratification, all his desires were fulfilled by virtue of his performance of Vedic rituals. All the kings with whom Gaya had to fight were forced to fight on religious principles. Were very satisfied with his fighting, and they would present all kinds of gifts to him. Similarly, all the Brahmanas in his kingdom were very satisfied with King Gaya's beneficent charities. Consequently, the Brahmanas contributed a sixth of their pious activities for the King Gaya's benefit in the next life. Purport. As a Kshatriya or emperor, Maharaj Gaya sometimes had to fight with subordinate kings to maintain his government. But the subordinate kings were not dissatisfied with him because they knew that he fought for religious principles. Consequently, they accepted their subordination and offered all kinds of gifts to him. Similarly, the Brahmanas who performed Vedic rituals were so satisfied with the king that they very readily agreed to part with the 6 of their pious activities for his benefit in the next life. Thus the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas were all satisfied with Maharaj Gaya because of his proper administration. In other words, Maharaj Gaya satisfied the Kshatriya kings by his fighting and satisfied the Brahmanas by his charities. The Vaishyas were also encouraged by words and affectionate dealings. And due to Maharaj Gaya's constant sacrifices, the Shudras were satisfied by sumptuous food and charity. In this way, Maharaj Gaya kept all the citizens very satisfied. When Brahmanas and saintly persons are honored, they part with their pious activities, giving them to those who honor them and render them service. Therefore, stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:34, one should try to approach a spiritual master submissively and render service. Text 12. Yasyadvare Bhagavan adharatma maghoni madhyati uru samapete Shwadha Vishuddha Chala Bhakti Yoga Samarpiteya Halam Ajahara. I'll skip word to word. Translation. In Maharaj Gaya's sacrifices, there was a great supply of the intoxicant known as soma. You can't become intoxicated by drinking the large quantities of somras. Also, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the Yagya Purusha, also came and personally accepted all the sacrifices offered unto him with pure and firm devotion in the sacrificial arena. Maharaj Gaya was so perfect that he satisfied all the demigods who were heeded by the heavenly King Indra. Lord sacrificial arena to accept the offerings. Although Maharaj Gaya did not want them, he received all the blessings of the demigods and the Supreme Lord himself. Oh wow. Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayarupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Apta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vandeham Shigurun Shivta Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitam Scha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatadine Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya. Sorry for not chanting Anglo-Charnam prayers in a proper order. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would, especially during the yagya ceremony, the mantras to be recited in the proper order. So, right. So today we are reading from this chapter, the descendants of King Priyavrata, and it's actually very nice to hear. You know, we usually hear quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam, and you know, usually the story that we hear is Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj. So we hear and we kind of know them back and forth, and uh, we keep enjoying hearing those pastimes, of course, and going deeper and deeper each time we hear them and purifying ourselves more and more. But actually, if we hear about all other kings mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, their stories, or you know, their names, how saintly they are, how pious they are, how good examples they are. It is on that same transcendental platform we derive the same benefit by hearing about them. So of course we have the favorites. Sometimes, you know, somebody may have Maharaj Bharat or Rishabhadev favorite, but you know, others, Priyavrata himself, and you know, all those stories are absolutely wonderful. And there's always a little different lesson, you know, that is outlining specifically in that one of few stories that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. You can imagine, you know, there has been so long, there must have happened so many things. But we have this little fraction of their life with some significant lesson for our benefit and something that outlines their character. Bali Maharaj, you know, outlines their character, how great devotees they are. And so we can relish that. But we have to remember it's only you know, a few percents that we know of their lives through those few stories that we hear. I remember Hridananda Das Goswami Maharaj was here, and he was saying that, you know, Krishna book, what 10th canto is just, you know, Krishna lived for what, 120 years, right? And so we know, you know, 12 days, or not 12 days, a little more, but you know, say, you know, 5% or even less of his activities, because every day something happened. It says, I don't know if it's Garga saying that, you know, Krishna's day was divided in Vrindavan in such a way that some demon would come during lunchtime or just before lunchtime, just to kind of change the lila, because they were playing with the cowherd boys. And so they had to stop, fight the demon, and then after the demon was killed, time for lunch. Otherwise, they couldn't stop playing. They were so absorbed in these loving exchanges. So the demons were actually helping them to be regulated in their lunch takings. Of course, those demons were not so significant as those which are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, meaning not as powerful, not as huge, you know, not as close to Kamsa associates, and like Bakasura, Agasura, and so forth. So we only hear about certain ones, but you know, there's always some fun that's going on, and actually there's a lot of information. And I mean, Rajumna Swami Maharaj, he is still doing this every Friday. He used to do Tuesday and Friday, now it's every Friday. Talks about turning the stimulating ecstatic love for Krishna, and he keeps digging out pastimes and pastimes and pastimes and pastimes of Krishna, which we have never heard before, most likely. He's using all the accessories of Vrindavan Research Institute and consults with his senior god brothers like that. Or not necessarily senior god brothers, but are that know Sanskrit and other literatures. Okay, but coming back to today's verse, so we have here Maharaj Gaya, who is been described in several verses already, how he got his piety, and how is he able to perform so nicely as a king. And first, previous verse, yesterday we heard, not yesterday, we heard day before yesterday, Yashadev was giving class, that had to receive the blessings of a superior authorities. In this case, actually, there were also ladies, and so we discuss how some brahmanas' wives also been brahmanas. They knew all those ritualistic procedures as brahmanas did, and they were very powerful, and so they could bestow blessings. And now we hear in a bit more details that because of that was needed in order to actually perform well. Blessings of seniors, how can we perform well? We can hear Haricakra Prabhu is giving class, very humbly requesting blessings of all devotees before every class, in order to say something that would be authoritative, that would not speak from the mind. There will be a real katha, that we will really receive the blessings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the fact that we can hear in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, that Shukadeva Goswami was only 16 years old. He came, everybody stood up, apart from some of his seniors, Dev and Narad Muni. So his Param Gurus were not standing up, but they were blessing him. And so before starting the class, he would bow down, he would ask for the blessings of his seniors. So we continue in the same way, Guru Parampara. That's why we chant the Mangala Charanam prayers. We actually invoking and offering respects to all the superiors, started with Supreme Personality of God and going down to this associates. That's why, as I said, I apologize I didn't chant in a proper order. And then to Vaishnavas, then to Guru Parampara and the spiritual master. And then we can start, saying something. And sometimes when even the younger devotees were chosen in terms of age to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, being empowered by those seniors, everybody extracted so much bliss. So in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, same thing was happening. They were choosing Raghunath Das Goswami. He was junior to many, but he was so inundated in the love of Godhead that others would just be in a complete ecstasy hearing this katha. So Maharaj Gaya, he was satisfying everyone according to their varna. We hear here in this book that he was fighting the kings, but he was fighting, first of all, for religious principles. So the reason for fighting was not the greed, that was not the envy, that was not jealousy, that was not, what else? Just anger. I just need to release my anger somewhere. No. The reason was, I know how to best take care of the citizens based on religious principles. I know best. I'm capable to do it best. Do you agree? If you don't agree, we fight. If you agree, you subordinate. That was the reason. And then the whole fight was happening according to religious dharma. So that means some battlefields like the Kurukshetra, no women, no children, no old people, no cows, no brahmanas, nobody was hurt. The men kshatriya would be fighting each other. I don't know, maybe some shudras would be assisting, like, in that battlefield, like giving the water to the horses and like that. But in generally speaking, it's just that class of people would be fighting, and some maybe shudras assisting. But so none of those sensitive groups would be damaged or harmed in any way, directly at least. And then as the kshatriyas fight each other, because it's an art, we say martial art, right? If we look at those, some of us maybe, if we're Krishna conscious, we're looking at some fights, whether it's boxing fights or MM3 or whatever the names are, the fights without rules or whatever, different categories, kickboxing and so forth, Aikido, different martial arts. Sometimes it's beautiful, like Jiu-Jitsu or some other, like Aikido, it's like almost like a dance, and then people are flying over. So it's also an art. in Vedas, in Dhanurveda, etc. And Kshatriyas, as those enjoying that art, they enjoy not just fighting, they enjoy how the other fighter fights and have respect towards that. They can appreciate that. That's a certain rasa, chivalry rasa. Krishna also enjoys a good fight. He enjoys a good fight as a kshatriya, and we see those examples when he fights with Kamsa, with wrestlers, Chanura, Mushtika, the elephant Kalavipida. He fights 18 times with Jarasandha. Fights many demons. Sometimes he fights with his devotees. In fact, if you have to fight with Krishna, you have to be his devotee, like Jambavan, or even Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were actually devotees. And as we know, Chalva and Kamsa were actually not Chalva, what's his name? The envious Shishupal. Shishupal and Kamsa. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were incarnated further to Ravana and until they get the final liberation. So, and that's a rasa. Bhishma, he says in the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, he says that that was a very nice fight. He enjoys remembering it so much so that it's described like the gopis would enjoy the lips of Krishna in the same way Bhishma or even Krishna would enjoy Bhishma's arrows that would scratch him or wound him even. He would enjoy them like the roses, like the Bhishma was offering him petals, the roses. So that kind of hard to understand enjoyment, but it is there, Shivali Rasa. And sometimes the Kshatriyas would test each other. So Lord Shiva also tested Arjuna, how he fights, and he saw how beautiful he fights, and he gives the gifts, the bow or the other gifts, the divine weapons. Bhishma was also challenged by Parashurama, the king. And so also he enjoyed him. He fight him very much. And then he said, "It's a wonderful warrior, who slayed how many? 27 dynasties of Kshatriyas, all by himself." Of course, he's Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, so he fights with Bhishma and appreciates his staunch skills. So, in order to satisfy Kshatriyas, you have to arrange a nice performance of, at least you could do arm wrestling or something less harmful these days. So you can engage those sports inclinations, but without really damaging. It could be like a sport, the wrestling. I remember Vardhana Swami, at that time he was brahmachari. So they came to Prague with his big group, first to make microbuses, then big bus. And so we did 4-hour Harinams every day with them, distributed books, and it was a very nice time. It reminded me of Prabhupada's time when Harinams were like 8 hours or more. So we did 4 hours every day. And I was still working. And somehow I was going to Harinams, we were, helping distributing books to the brahmacharis. But they're young boys and they need some engagement, And so even though the engagement is there, we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, there was Mangalarti every day, and it was very nice. So, Varna decides to arrange a wrestling match for all the boys. And so he would pair them based on their category. He had a big mat on which we were usually sitting during Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, now you just have to push one out of the mat. So, there was like a wrestling pushing, they could throw each other, but, so, and, the boys enjoyed a lot of fun. I was also fighting one boy. So, and it was fun, devotees just had this little fun together. And it was not harmful. Nobody damaged each other. There's no breaking arms or anything like that. But boys enjoy that spirit. So that's how Kshatriyas enjoy. And then Brahmanas, being satisfied with Maharaj Gaya, they were ready to bestow, part of it, 6 of their piety to Maharaj Gaya to his next life and so forth. So the Brahmanas enjoy when they are respected. Not that they enjoy, it's just that's the way, because they're sensitive by nature. A Brahmana would not speak if he's not respected. We remember how King Indra did not stand up when his spiritual master Brihaspati came. He didn't stand up to show the respect because he was allured by all this wealth just one day. And so immediately spiritual master detected it. Okay, he's not paying respects, that it's already an offense, but he'll make further offense. He will not hear me right now. He's in mode of passion. Mode of passion means I cannot hear. I'm very much absorbed in my passions. And it's actually interesting that passion in Old English means suffering, right? Yeah. Movie Passion of Christ, like that. I think Ridananda Swamarash also mentioned that in his class. So we know that it starts nice and it finishes with suffering. There's no other way, basically. It's a law. But also, if you think about it more deeper, higher suffering is that I'm actually bereft of spiritual knowledge, right? So actually, when I'm in this mode, I'm not able to really hear not just one ear in, one ear, other ear out, but hear that it stays in your heart, that you can contemplate on that knowledge that you have received, and that it's actually nicely sprouting in your heart. The Bhakti Lata Beach is sprouting. That's what's needed. That's what's real Srimad Bhagavatam is. That's why morning hours, mode of goodness. That's the best time for oral reception, when everything is kind of still and calm, still. So Brahmanas, when they receive this respect, where is it? They were satisfied with proper administration and okay, where is this? Subordination. Oh yeah, when Brahman saintly persons are honored, they part with their pious activities, giving them to those who honor them and render them service. And then the Bhagavad Gita famous verse. And this is the way to approach Brahmanas. And so that's why Srila Prabhupada, it's not that he needed a respect. He as a person didn't need, he was not in need of that respect. That's why he was replying to Gargamuni saying, when he asked a question, do I need to bow down if I don't feel like it? So you need to bow down, because you bow down first, the feeling will come later. Do the right thing. In other words, by doing this, you render service, you've shown respect, and because it's Krishna's system, Chaturvarni is Krishna's system, by participating in Krishna's system, the blessings are kind of automatically bestowing, The mercy flows, starts flowing from upwards downwards. And that's proper, that's correct. And of course, it's not just Brahmana, this is a pure devotee of the Lord, who is the most dear associate of Krishna. Priyasime, he is very dear to me, Krishna says, the one who, and then so many descriptions. And Prabhupada fits perfectly to all of those descriptions. So by doing this, he benefited those conditioned souls. Well, sometimes not maybe conditioned souls, but anyway, devotees definitely subordinate disciples who were subordinate to him. Some of them may have been liberated souls, glories of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, others. So, so this is a great benefit that we have. And I remember also when I was traveling in Bhakti Narasimha Swami Maharaj in Russia, that in places where somehow or other devotees were not so respectful, not maybe intentionally, just they were busy, in their routine or something. So Maharaj wouldn't open up. He would speak, but he wouldn't open up. And somehow it was the first 3 yatras. It was kind of similar experience until we get to Ufa city. And I don't know what happened there, but the moment we walked in, the children, they were running, they were jumping to his lotus feet, they were just jumping in dandavats, like, or gliding on the floor, catching his feet, offering petals. There were several garlands, and everybody so ecstatic to see and receive this, sannyasi from South Africa, Bhakti Nrsimha Swami Maharaj. It's the first African sannyasi, by the way, from Africa, and he, Giraj Maharaj, disciple. And so we came in, and then the moment he starts speaking, it just was the best class. I was translating. It was like the best class in this whole journey. We visited 10 cities in 14 days. And then he got so ecstatic. He was jumping. He was, I never seen this kirtan also. At some point, I don't know, and he threw away his socks. It's just, it was just really, really intense. It was really beautiful. And then I observed what's happening in this yatra, how they treating ladies, Vaishnavis, so first class. They had, ensured that all of the ladies are feeling nice. How they see, if the babies, the prasadam, they get the first they would get prasad, men sure that everything runs in a very nice, harmonious way. I could see that also. I was detecting it. All women are happy. And when ladies are happy, this happiness energy emanates like through the whole thing, the whole yatra. And Brahmanas were properly respected. And I had never seen this, like, Maharaj as he is or as he can be before or after, because it was right in the middle of the trip. And then when we were driving off, or we were catching trains, they did the Harinam on a train station. And it was minus. It was cold temperature. Maharaj is not used to snow and winter times, kind of. It was February we were traveling. So he jumped off the train and started chanting and dancing with them on the platform. The train is about to depart. It's like 1 minute left. I'm walking. I'm running down. I'm catching Maharaj. I said, Maharaj, we have to go. We have to go. The train is leaving right now. And he didn't want to go. He was just dancing. Maharaj, I'm not like exaggerating. Train is about to go right now. So I pull him out from the platform so we can actually travel further. Anyway, so this is just so you understand. Those devotees come. They're very humble. Like Krishna Kshetra Maharaj came, others. If we would not be eager to hear, they would not detect, okay, we're eager to hear, then we would not receive the mercy. We would not receive. And the more we do that, the fuller potential is not only to receive that mercy, but ignite that mercy again so that it comes again. Or those brahmanas who visit again, if they, it's good. I think, who was it? I forgot who was saying the story from Maharaj's, but somebody made a cake for one Swami on the day of his departure. And so he took it the way that, oh, it's a celebration that I depart, right? So you don't want to see me again. It's so difficult to serve him or something. And so we should be very cautious, careful, like serving properly. Anyway, I'm going too long here on this point, but so the Vaishyas, affectionate dealings, kind words, wherein Shudras got the food and charity. It's a performance. Sacrifices is like today, you go to a soccer match or American football match or whatever, big thing, 50,000 more, 100,000 people gather together to see, they usually eat in there, they buy in food. But this was kind of that standard in terms of everybody would come for the yajna, and then, they would see because of the piety of the kings, they would see the demigods. In fact, they would even see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whoever was present. That was the sanity of the kings. It was so saintly that this was happened. And they would receive the benefits, Vishnu and demigods would take their part, the Yagya Purusha thing, they would take the offerings, accept them, and then they would distribute the blessings, like in the case of Maharaj Prithu, when Vishnu was satisfied, exactly in the same kind of scenario. He said, what's the blessing? And usually devotees are so humble, they don't need any blessing, they just do it for service. It says here in the second purport that Maharaj Gaya didn't want them. What do you mean, didn't want the blessing? Usually that's what we are for, right? We are praying to Krishna so we can receive the blessings of some sort, even at least spiritual blessing, but it should be blessing. But no, when we hear Prahlad Maharaj, when we hear Prithu Maharaj, they didn't want any blessing. They said the only thing we want is, and that's the blessing, of course, that we want to serve you life after life. Or, like in Maharaj Prithu's case, he said, I want to have association of your devotees, birth after birth, because then I can hear, your glories. Because from the mouth of devotees, it's more juicy. Sometimes like to speak, but Yashadev knows this problem that here in this community, devotees are so humble and they really enjoy hearing. So it's hard to hear them speaking because they absorb in hearing so much. It's actually very juicy. It's a very nice taste. It's very tasty to hear Propakatha. You feel satisfaction. The Atma Prasidati, it satisfies deep in the heart. It's like you've been eating something. Prabhupada says it's very easy to understand that when you're hungry, your limbs, everything feels weak, but when you're eaten, you're alive, you have full of energy. Same principle in bhakti. You eat in Krishna Katha, and then you feel energized. You can give. Now you can preach. Now you can enthusiastically chant. You get in surcharge. In fact, because it's a high energy, a higher principle, sometimes you would even not feel the distress of the body, whatever that is, physical condition, disease, you would just transcend that. I know devotees who have this so weak, and then they hear, then they can go and distribute books for hours, and their body is not capable of even, walking almost, but they would just go and distribute hundreds of books, then come back, and then again they kind of, oh, I don't have energy. I say, what did you just do? You just distributed 300 books in a few hours. How did that happen? So, voila, spiritual strength. Okay, and so where I was. Oh yes, and so Prithu Maharshi said, I would like to have that association with devotees, and then Vishnu said, yes, soon the saintly devotees would come and visit your house, stay in your house, and then Kumar came. Look at that, Sumaraj Gaya is in the same level. He's not into the blade, he's into the service. He does his service for the pleasure of the Lord, satisfy the citizens, he serves them through the pleasure of the Lord. So he's not really interested in, thinking about himself, even about what blessings he needs. He just wants to serve. Very high platform. All right, I better stop here. I hear the bell, so the Volga is getting offered now. So we have 10 minutes left. If you have any questions or comments, please.
Thank you, Venu-Madhurya Prabhu. Your description of the standard set by great kings definitely leaves us feeling lacking in our modern politicians, that we just don't see anything close to that standard. But I guess that if we continue to hear about that standard set in Srimad Bhagavatam, at least in our own communities, we can continue to cultivate a little bit of that. And I see that in you, actually. A very good leader like that. Almost equal to Maharaj Gaya. So thank you for reminding us of the standards. Hare Krishna.
Nonsense glorification, Yashadev Prabhu, sorry. There's not even close. to what we're hearing here. This is very pure what we're hearing. But saying what you said about politicians, we should still try to and aspire to continue preaching. You know, Srila Prabhupada was actually, he was very concerned, and when he saw the potential of those who could preach to those big shots, those big people, he was very fond of it. He himself tried many times, and he would never reject the opportunity to do such preaching and talk. But I was just hearing recently about Giriraj Swami's memories and Bhakti Charamar's memories. And so in both of them, the cases of their memories, there were examples when Giriraj Maharaj was the high court judge commissioner, and he was becoming more favorable towards devotional service. Prabhupada was checking regularly, how is this preaching going? What is he saying? Where is he at? You know, he's trying to estimate how is he growing spiritually, to the point that he was just about to get initiated. And then he gathered all the lower judges as him also, trying to use examples of the Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, how they give up those high posts to join the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's continuing that, he's inviting them all to join, like this, you know. So they were doing this, and then Bhakti Sharma was saying about some big Indian industrials, almost number one industrialist in India. He came with his grandchildren. That was just about, for Prabhupada, he was about to depart, like kind of in final years. He would come. So the Gurukula already was established in Vrindavan. And so he was inviting his group to be in this Gurukula. Because he was saying, look at those children of this and this, you know, who they became, you know, they lost it, you know, this modern education. So he's explaining. And then, so he was apparently actually really considering to send his grandson to Vrindavan ISKCON group. He didn't do so, but then somehow his education got affected in such a way that this grandson, when he grew up, because Bhakti Maharaj met him somehow, he was wearing a shika. So he was actually, you know, trying to, not imitate, but, you know, he was getting at least some of the principles of our movement, trying to apply in his life. And then another example, recent one, is we had a Harinam of a few Ukrainian and Russian devotees, Sankirtan party in Europe. They are traveling years now. And so they were in Italy doing Harinam. And actually, specifically, when they saw this on a Facebook later, this video of themselves, they reflected that this was the dull moment of the Harinam, when they were actually very tired. It was right almost at the end. And somehow it was not so, you know, sometimes Harinams are very blissful. Sometimes you just do it and seems that Krishna is not revealing himself and like that. And so actually that moment they were like kind of, you know, they were chanting, but they were not, you know, all those ecstasy moments are gone, and they were just, you know, finishing up basically. What they didn't know is that there was an Italian politician passing by the road. He filmed him. He posted on his, he was the minister of international affairs or something, you know, like a big guy. So he published his Facebook page, and he said, my next life I want to become like them. And then some devotees saw it and said, why in the next life? Why don't you order books? I said, actually, this is a good idea. And he ordered a whole Srimad Bhagavatam set for the Parliament of Italy. So in their library there, they have a whole Srimad Bhagavatam set, just because of this moment passing by where devotees were chanting, not even enthusiastically, thinking, you know, and they all confessed, you know, at that moment we were just, you know, kind of finishing what we're supposed to be doing, but without any, you know, the consciousness was not exactly there anymore. Still, we don't know that, you know, holy name is there and Krishna is there all the time, and, you know, just based on their determination, Krishna reciprocates in a very interesting ways. So we just never know when this will happen. Who are we gonna meet, you know? Vishnujan, not the Vishnujan Maharaj, but Vishnujan from Udupi. They were just chanting in Prague recently, a few years back. and they met the prime minister at that time. He got the book. He got Bhagavad Gita. You know, he made a picture with Vishnu Jalan, and yeah. So it's we just don't know. You know, it's sometimes we're searching for these big guys how to preach to them, but actually sometimes they're very easily available right there on the streets. So that's why it's important to continue our program, but also continue something that we can show them, like you know, like Vitanagari or other places where they can start thinking how they can apply their big brains, so-called Sattva brains, right, or at least inclinations, similar inclinations, administrative inclinations, to organize and make it a solution to their global problems. All right, anything else from anybody? Okay, I'll try to check the chat. In the chat. So, all right, we can stop here. And yes, to summarize, the two verses is it's so important, as Yashdev said, that the leaders especially are having those, at least some of those qualities, you know, because if they don't, then all awaits us is just a road to hell kind of thing, right? Whereas there's other qualities, it elevates the consciousness. I just recently, or maybe I'll share this, I recently came across randomly somehow, YouTube gave me, okay, sounds interesting. There was a parallel of life of Charlie Chaplin and Adolf Hitler. I didn't know this at all in their biographies, but actually they're born apart just 4 days. They came from similar poor backgrounds, you know, they both lost their fathers to their alcoholism or whatever. So their lives as children were absolutely identical in terms of what they were going through. And even the character that Charlie Chaplin has created in those movies without sound was actually externally even similar to the Adolf Hitler external looks, right? With his mustache and small in size and like that. So Charlie Chaplin was saying that, you know, I was sometimes wondering, you know, why I am just making the whole world laugh and he's, you know, making the whole world die, basically. He was contemplating himself in those parallels, and he movie The Great Dictator, where he's, you know, trying to face him and criticize him in his usual manner, and then right at the end of this movie, actually he makes a speech, and that speech is no longer the character of the movie. It's like him speaking to the world. And that speech, that what I was looking for is this speech, is actually quite deep. You know, he determines those reasons correctly, establishes those reasons that, you know, this is greed, this is that, and human beings should not live like this. We have plenty of land to everybody to be satisfied and be happy. You know, so maybe he doesn't have the background to, you know, like Krishna conscious philosophy, but what he's saying there is very, very close. So even when some leaders, and he was a leader to a certain degree, even if some leaders have at least those qualities to say that morality or other things, it has such a great impact on everyone. So I found it just interesting. So I just wanted to share. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada. I have to preach. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Radha Damodar Ki Jai. Pada. Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada. Shiva Prabhupada. Jaya Shiva Prabhupada. Jaya Shiva Prabhupada. Shiva Prabhupada. Jaya Shiva Prabhupada. Shiva Prabhupada. Shiva Prabhupada. Shiva Prabhupada. Guru Charana Padma Kevala Kate Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Kate Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Gada Prasade Bhagavatoriya Jara Prasade Bhagavatoriya Jara Krishna Prapti Hoy Jara Hoyte Krishna Prapti Hoy Jara Hoyte Krishna Prapti Hoy Jai Te Krishna Prapti Hoy Jai Te Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kori Vakya Turu Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kori Vakya Varna Kori Mame Kya Anna Koriyo Mame Sha Anna Koriyo Mame Asha Anna Koriyo Mame Sha Vibhu Chara Rati Etse Ramagati Vibhu Charamagati Etse Uttamagati Viprasade Pure Sarva Ansham Viprasade Pure Sarva Asha Viprasade Pure Sarva Ye prasare pure sarva Chaku dana jingo ne janme prabhu se janme janme prabhu se divya se je prakashitu divya jnana prakashitu brahma bhakti jnana Avida vinate prema bhakti jam. Avida vinate prema bhakti jam. Avida vinate prema bhakti jam. Avida Vinache Jate Vedegai Yara Charito Vedegai Yara Charito Vedegai Yara Charito Vedegai Yara Charito Guru Karuna Sindhu Hadama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Hadama Janara Bandhu Lokana Lokana Jivana Lokana Lokana Jivana Lokana Lokana Jivana Aha Prabhu Purujoya Dehamore Parachaya Prabhu Purujoya Dehamore Parachaya Prabhu Purujoya Dehamore Parachaya Prabhu Purujoya Dehamore Parachaya Vedasya Tribhuvanam Vedasya Tribhuvanam Vedasya Tribhuvanam Vedasya Tribhuvanam Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Now Vishnu Padana Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Navile Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachami Nidisita Sunyavani Paschatya Nishata Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Good. Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Shivadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. 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 So much. Thank you. Thank you. You'll always speak about spiritual stuff. Fantastic. Yeah. The only way was you can thank your devotion and service. Down, 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 speak the great words. Cross ocean between some. And the day is. I don't wish you said, no, just the words. Actually, you know, speaking of passion, it was so nice. Filled with my eyes and filled with heart with listening is my Lord. To extent from this by any means not. Many scriptures said, aus Musulmans, English university, better than all mass. All mass something we must want us. Give us the shame books. The face that all three books. Thank you. See? It's like raising like one son. Jack. All right. Thank you very much, dear